A feel-good story officially coming out of New England as the Patriots are officially hiring Mike Vrabel to be the 16th head coach of the New England Patriots. He's here, man. Mike Vrabel is officially back to the New England Patriots, and it just feels so damn good to have him back home. This was a move that, quite honestly, has made sense for the Patriots for the last couple of years. Even when they hired Jerod Mayo to be their next head coach, we all said, what about that guy, Mike Vrabel? Mike Vrabel seems like the kind of guy that could take over for your organization. And let's be honest, none of us are surprised. This is exactly what we knew was going to happen the second that Jerod Mayo was fired. And I've been telling you guys this over the last few days, a little over a week now, even before Jerod Mayo was fired, was that Mike Vrabel was already being linked back to the Patriots. That week of that Buffalo game, we heard that if Jerod Mayo was fired, Mike Vrabel had interest in becoming the Patriots' next head coach. Then there was a report that came out that said if the Patriots do fire Jerod Mayo, the Patriots have interest in Mike Vrabel. Then the Patriots randomly fire Jerod Mayo with no time to waste after that Buffalo Bills game, and everything started to roll after that. Report comes out that the only reason Mike Vrabel had an interview with the Patriots' in-division rival New York Jets was a smokescreen to get the New England Patriots job. In fact, a report actually came out from Tom Pelissero of NFL Network saying that the Raiders never interviewed Mike Vrabel for their head coaching vacancy because Mike Vrabel told Tom Brady that he was, and I quote, going back to New England. Before we really start to break this down, what this means for the Patriots moving forward, coordinators, all of the impact that this move is officially going to have, there is one thing that does bother me and one thing that could potentially bite the New England Patriots in the butt. And that's the fact that they went about this process for their next head coach not in the best way. Now, we heard from Robert Kraft when he fired Jerod Mayo saying that he didn't do this process right. When looking for the next head coach of the Patriots after Bill Belichick, he didn't go out. He didn't interview a bunch of candidates. He had it in the clause that Jerod Mayo would just take over. And it sounded like he was going to do the process right this time around, because a big reason that the Patriots wasted the 2024 season was because Robert Kraft and company did not actually go through an adequate process and the interview process of trying to figure out who the next head coach was going to be of their organization. They go out, they interview a few guys, but it feels like this whole time it was just to meet the Rooney Rule. They go out, they interview Pep Hamilton, Brian Leftwich, really right after each other. When they posted about the interviews with both of those guys for their head coach vacancy, they posted it with one Instagram account, with one Twitter post. It just kind of felt like those guys never got a real chance. And it was just, hey, we want to hire Mike Vrabel. We know that that was our guy this entire time. Let's just meet this damn Rooney Rule so that we can go ahead and now hire him. There was even a couple reports that have come out over the last couple of days that there are people within the Patriots organization that are not happy with how the Patriots went about this process in looking for the next head coach. We also know that after they officially met the Rooney Rule, they went out and they requested an interview with Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. It comes out a day later that Aaron Glenn declined the New England Patriots for that interview. Now, this could be a multitude of different things. One, it could be the fact that he doesn't like how the Patriots have went about the head coaching process. He didn't want to be a part of it. He felt like he was just another minority candidate when Mike Vrabel was already given, that head coaching job. Or it could also be because he's a former New York Jet. He has an interview set up with the Jets. Aaron Glenn could be the next head coach of the New York Jets, and he said, screw you, Patriots. I'm not interviewing with you. And I'm not one of those fans that needed the Patriots to go out and interview 15 different candidates. We know that Robert Kraft wanted to get the ground running. He wanted this to happen very quick so that the other processes could start. You could get the guys in the building that are going to start making your roster moves, that are going to set the culture, that are going to start your draft class, that are going to start free agency. But just after seeing everything that happened with the Jerod Mayo process and seeing just how bad you messed that up, you would think Robert Kraft would be a little bit more patient with this process and make sure that he does it right. It's better to interview more candidates than not interview enough guys and take this entire process easily. Because even if you're not necessarily going to hire a guy to be your next head coach, there's different information and ideas that you can take away from those guys. And a lot of the times, too, just because they're not going to be your head coach doesn't mean you can't hire them for a different role. Somebody like Pep Hamilton. Yeah, maybe he's never going to be your head coach, but maybe you interview a guy like that thinking maybe he can be your offensive coordinator. Maybe he can be the assistant to the head coach. Maybe he can have a higher up role to help the overall football organization. Honestly, I just really hope that down the line, we don't hear that the Patriots went about this process wrong and they get some type of discipline for the NFL for not doing things the proper way throughout this process. Because if it comes out that the Patriots had already tampered with Mike Vrabel beforehand, that they were going to hire him before they even met the Rooney Rule, the Patriots could get in a lot of trouble. And I'm just hoping that that's a situation that doesn't come to head. Now, it's a great day here in New England. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to focus on the bad. I don't want to focus on the potential bad. I want to have a happy day where we focus on the new culture and a new era of the New England Patriots. Now, for those wondering, what are you getting with Mike Vrabel? What type of coach are you getting? This was a tweet from Andrew Callahan, who has a quote from a league source on Mike Vrabel to the New England Patriots. It says, and I quote, "Great leader will bring instant credibility with the players. They will be in a tough and physical team that is well coached and prepared. Will be brutally honest with everyone in the building. That will rub some the wrong way, but it is likely needed there." And that's exactly right. That's exactly what the Patriots need. And it's going to rub players wrong, especially these young guys. And my immediate thought when reading that was the wide receiver core, Javon Baker, Kayshon Boutte, Jalen Polk, the guys who all of last year were out here boasting themselves with such confidence, but then could not actually put those results out there on the field. Mike Vrabel is going to be a guy who comes in and says, do not talk to the media. He's going to yell at you. He's going to curse at you. He has that passion, and you see it within his past interviews when he was the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. If he was in a post-game press conference and a reporter would ask him a question about the loss, and it was a devastating loss for him, he wasn't happy about it, he doesn't hide those emotions. He shows it. And a lot of people wanted to see more of those emotions from Jerod Mayo during his tenure. He would talk like it mattered to him, but he would never actually show emotions. If you're angry, show me you're angry. If you're hyped, show me you're hyped. And Mike Vrabel is going to be the exact definition of that. He's the type of head coach where he's hands-on with players. He's not just going to sit back as a CEO-styled head coach and say, I'm going to trust my OC, I'm going to trust my DC. He's going to help coach these players during training camp, during practices. He's going to hop on the sleds and show these guys how it's done, despite him being in his 50s. The biggest problem for the Patriots under the Jerod Mayo era was a lack of identity and a lack of accountability. And those are the two biggest things that Mike Vrabel instantly brings to the New England Patriots, right? Consequences. If you're going to go out and you're going to have a bad game, you're going to fumble 7 times in a season, lose 3 of them like Ramondre Stevenson, you are going to get benched. If you're going to go out and you're going to talk to the media, you're going to boast yourself on social media, voice your displeasure with the team and how you're being used, congratulations. Now you're not going to be used at all. Now, another thing that is very different from Mike Vrabel to Jerod Mayo is also the experience. And I'm not just talking about the experience as a player, the experience as a head coach, but the experience on his coaching career since he stopped being a player. Literally, he took 1 year off from playing football to becoming a coach. You see the love of the game from Mike Vrabel. Played with 3 different organizations at the NFL level, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots, and the Kansas City Chiefs, takes 1 year off, and then goes to Ohio State to be the linebackers coach in 2011. Then he became the defensive line coach for Ohio State from 2012 to 2013. Then he goes to the NFL level. That's where he starts coaching. And from 2014 to 2016, he was their linebackers coach, has that familiarity with former Patriots offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. That's how he got that Houston Texans job. Then in 2017, he became the defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. Then he became a head coach for the Tennessee Titans from 2018 to 2023. Keep in mind, in 2021, he was the NFL Coach of the Year. Then this past year, he didn't take time off. A lot of people speculated he gets fired from the Tennessee Titans. Maybe he takes a little bit of time off. He has enough money. He does not need to coach. But he said, no, I love the game too much. I'm going to build my repertoire, I could take a head coach job in 2024, but I am going to build my repertoire. I'm going to learn more so that the next time I'm a head coach, I can be even better the second time around. And he becomes a consultant for Cleveland this past year. And from what I understand, he was more of an offensive consultant. You see this resume and you say, well, Patriots Global, that's a lot of defensive experience, and that's great, but I'm worried about the offense. I'm worried about Drake May. I'm worried about this passing offense because you need a good offense, and more specifically, a good passing offense to succeed in today's NFL. And I think that Mike Vrabel understood that that was a part to his game that was lacking. And while he understands the defensive side of the ball, this past year with Cleveland now gives him the opportunity to understand play calling a little bit more offensively, to understand the fundamentals on how the game is played from an offensive standpoint so that he doesn't go into his next coaching job here with the Patriots completely blind to that side of the football. The other thing, too, is that Mike Vrabel, he has postseason experience. He made the playoffs several times when he was the head coach for the Tennessee Titans. In fact, he made it in back-to-back years. One of the years in which they made the playoffs, they went to the AFC Championship game, almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They were a hair away from going to the Super Bowl. So in his first year, 2018, they missed the playoffs. His second year, 2019, wild card round against the Patriots in New England. That was Tom Brady's final game. They beat the Patriots 20-13. Then in the divisional round, they play the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. They win that game 28-12. Then the championship game, they go to Arrowhead and they just barely lose. They lose 24-35. Then in 2020, they make the playoffs yet again, but they lose in the wild card round against the Baltimore Ravens 13-20. And then in 2021, they make the playoffs yet again, but yet again, they lose in not the wild card round, but they lose in the divisional round to the Cincinnati Bengals 16-19. And a lot of people are going to say, Colby, that's great, but I want Super Bowls. I don't want, hey, we go to the playoffs, but we lose in the first round. We consistently lose in the second round. And here's what I'll say. We need to understand the roster that he had around him. The fact that with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, Mike Vrabel had a record of 33-18. Now, Ryan Tannehill was never a good quarterback, but I feel pretty confident in saying that the Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel, they made Ryan Tannehill look a lot better than when he was with the Miami Dolphins. Then, with Will Levis, Josh Dobbs, Malik Willis, Marcus Mariota, and Blaine Gabbert, he had a record of 15-21. What could he look like with a real franchise quarterback, with a guy that multiple league executives have come out over the last few weeks and said, Drake May can be a top 5 quarterback? And a lot of people are worried because they said, look, while Mike Vrabel was the head coach of the Titans, he had Derrick Henry as his running back. They were primarily a run-based offense. Like, that was their quarterback. And a lot of people took that as, well, Mike Vrabel, he doesn't necessarily care about having an elite quarterback because of the way that he wants to play offensively. And I don't think that's the case. It is very, very hard to find yourself a good, elite franchise quarterback. They never stumbled upon their next guy at that position. But what they did have was one of the best running backs to ever do so. So I think Mike Vrabel simply adapted. He didn't have a good quarterback, but he had an elite running back. So he said, we're going to make Derrick Henry the vocal point of this offense and the vocal point of this team, and essentially make him the quarterback of the offense until we figure out how we can get a top-tier echelon quarterback. Like, I really don't see this becoming a situation where he comes to the New England Patriots, he doesn't utilize Drake May at all, he tries to get Derrick Henry back to New England, and this becomes a run-centric offense. I just don't see that situation happening. We have to understand, again, he just did not have that type of talent while he was with Tennessee. And then lastly here with Mike Vrabel, he is going to have a lot of connections throughout the league, a lot of experience, again, being a consultant with the Cleveland Browns this past year, connections to the collegiate level with Ohio State, obviously the connections with the Tennessee Titans, not to mention his connections even within the New England Patriots. It was reported that whatever team Mike Vrabel went to, he already had assistant coaches lined up behind him who he was going to give jobs to. So now the biggest question comes on, and that is, who is safe in New England and who isn't? Which positional coaches are safe in New England? Which coordinators are safe in New England? If I'm the team, if I'm Mike Vrabel, I am definitely giving Alex Van Pelt an interview at offensive coordinator. Mike Vrabel has connections back to Cleveland, so that's a guy that he should have some familiarity with. But we also know that Josh McDaniels has been a name heavily linked back to the Patriots offensive coordinator job. So that is something else to watch. As for defensive coordinator, I think DeMarcus Covington is all but gone. Had an interview with the Cincinnati Bengals just a couple of weeks ago for their defensive coordinator job. So feels like he's probably out. Now, as for defensive coordinator, a name that was thrown out there to watch was Giants defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, who has experience with Mike Vrabel during their time in Tennessee. From what it sounds like, though, this is not going to be a possibility because Brian Daboll, he is returning to the Giants as their head coach, and he plans on keeping all of his coordinators. So there's going to be a search for OC, a search for DC. It's going to be wide open, but that is definitely something that Mike Vrabel has in his repertoire, is to bring in very, very experienced guys. All in all, I think a lot of people are going to be upset that they didn't go out and have a wider search for head coach, more interviews. Some people are going to be upset that they didn't go the offensive route with, Ben Johnson. And look, I get it. Your biggest investment in years is Drake May. You need to build that offense around him. You need to make sure that he's not a bust. But just because Ben Johnson would come in and give the Patriots a good offense doesn't mean Ben Johnson would come in and give the Patriots a good defense. And that's something we have to keep in mind, is that to win football games, to win championships, you need a good all-around team. You need a good offense, defense, special teams, complementary football, not just a good one side of the football. And a good head coach can come in and do all of those three things. But this is where I kick it to you guys. What are your thoughts on Mike Vrabel officially becoming the 16th head coach for the New England Patriots in franchise history? Let me know in the comment section below. Sound off whether you like it or whether you don't like it. I would love to hear from you. Leave a big like on the video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. I appreciate you guys so much for watching. And of course, go Pats.